Good evening. I'm just next door to Spain this evening, over the border in the south of Portugal. And joining me this evening is my colleague Shane Peacock. We'll introduce a bit about ourselves and, of course, Holborn very shortly. But yeah, very much looking forward to hosting this evening's webinar around the Spanish golden visa. You'll see online a lot of focus around the Portuguese golden visa, which, of course, has been going under many changes over recent months. And it's of course, something that's going to be gaining some popularity now, of course, looking at the Spanish golden visa, which has the same minimum investment of €500,000 as we now see with Portugal. So we're going to jump in. We've got loads to cover this evening. I did used to live in Spain. I was in Spain for 5 years. You probably could not tell that by the lack of Spanish accent, but I was in Malaga for 5 years before moving to Portugal just a couple of years back. I look after the Spanish and Portuguese operations for Holborn assets, and it's a pleasure to be talking about the Spanish golden visa, which is, of course, an investment visa which allows full-time VIP access to Spain and, of course, the Schengen area. I've sent everyone an email this morning just to introduce myself, and also, of course, the details for today's webinars. And the main focus that we're going to look at is, first of all, the basics of the golden visa as to what it's all about, who it's for, as well as, of course, an introduction to Holborn ourselves. We'll look at the timeline as to what is the process involved to achieve the Spanish golden visa, what are the requirements to do so. We're going to touch on the difference between residency and citizenship as well, and what is required for those two routes. We'll look at which family members can be included. Should you bring parents? Should you bring children, brothers, sisters, perhaps? But we shall cover that off as well. We're going to show you some of our current favourite investment options that qualify for the Spanish visa. And, of course, the headline of this evening is, of course, how to qualify with just 350,000 as opposed to the standard 500,000 euros as well. So between myself and Shane, we should be able to cover off any questions. There will be an option at the end of this evening's webinar to ask any questions live. There has already been a lot of questions come in. We'll make sure we do our best to get through all of those this evening. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little Q&A box. So if any questions on any of the slides arise, please do drop a message in the Q&A, and yeah, we shall pick on those towards the end. And yeah, hopefully everyone gets fancy out this evening, and we'll get stuck in now. For those that are not too familiar with Holborn Pass, which is, of course, a division of Holborn Assets, we are actually a wealth management practice, and they're one of the largest wealth management practices in Europe. We have now 20 offices worldwide, and we manage in excess of $3 billion between those offices. Myself, I trade. I'm a fully qualified and regulated international financial planner, and I specialize working with experts looking to move into Europe, which can link to a number of topics around retirement planning, around tax planning, around investment and savings generally. But anything numbers related is, of course, where I will come into the conversations between myself and Shane. Shane is our CBI, or Citizenship by Investment expert, and he is famously known as the guru of all information required for any of our European investment programs. Spain is just one of various. We also put regularly around, as I mentioned, in Portugal, also the Greek golden visa as well, Malta, and internationally the likes of St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and again over this week we'll be hosting some webinars around the EB5 program for the USA as well. So that's where we're at Holborn. I'm down in Portugal. Shane's over in South Africa. Of course, I'll bring him on shortly. So what is citizenship and residency by investment? Now, in short, there are certain countries around the world that will allow you to apply for their passport, and depending on which country that is, that passport is likely to come with a number of benefits. Now, you can invest into different economies under different rules to achieve both residency initially, and residency gives you the permission to live in that country, and ultimately that often leads to then citizenship, where you can receive a passport for that country, which again can offer further benefits at that stage. But in short, the programs are designed to attract foreign investment and, of course, immigration, which is great for the economy. And as a reward for doing that, of course, you are granted the benefits of being, in this case, a Spanish citizen. We just jump on there to a comparison now. Portugal generally is the fastest time to citizenship. However, Spain is not too far behind. Now, here you have a bit of a comparison between different citizenship programs that we offer, and of course, the residency programs as well. Now, if we just take a look on the right-hand side, you'll see the time to citizenship with Spain is 10 years, and Portugal goes coming in at 5 years. And both offer similar benefits along the way. Both grant access to live and travel throughout the Schengen area, giving you, again, visa-free access to live in any of the European states, but also visa-free travel to any, well, sorry, I say to any, but to over 187 countries worldwide. The minimum investment for Spain is €500,000, and you can invest in a number of different ways, which we'll come on to shortly. But yeah, is a tried and tested route to residency as well on citizenship after the 10 years, on the basis that you do keep a clean criminal record and you learn Spanish a little bit better than what I've managed to do so far. But again, we'll cover a little bit more on that shortly. Now, Spain, I moved to Spain around 7 years back now. I'm originally from Manchester in the UK. I don't know if you can pick that up from an ever so slight Manchester twang, but that's where I was born and bred, and came out to Spain purely and simply to live in the sun. I was a little bit fed up, of course, of just living in the rain generally, because I thought being able to live in Spain was just, wow, could I ever actually pull that off? And yeah, what an adventure it was. And I moved initially down to Malaga in the south of Spain. And yeah, that's where I spent 5 years working as a financial planner from the outset. But yeah, Spain, anywhere on the south coast, so whether it be Spain or Portugal, of course, you have an exceptional amount of sunshine, over 300 days of sunshine every year. It does rain every now and then, like today. Funnily enough, that's been pretty miserable today. But generally, it's pretty bright outside. The overall quality of life in Spain or Portugal is second to none. Spain, depending on where you decide to travel to, whether it be down in the south in Malaga, which towards the likes of Madrid or Barcelona, all have lots to offer. Of course, Madrid is much more built up, a lot more cosmopolitan than down in the south in Malaga. But of course, you have the beaches of Malaga and the likes of Barcelona as well. So it's personal preference on where you end up. And yeah, you're not going to go far wrong in either or, in my slightly biased opinion, of course, living in Spain for quite some time. But you also have access to the public healthcare system. You also have access to public education as well. It's voted one of the best retirement destinations anywhere in the world. And yeah, there's also a number of tax incentives for expats that are looking to move to Spain as well. So yeah, lots to offer. This language is a little bit easier than Portuguese, but yeah, personal preference on to where to head to in Spain. Now, the Golden Visa program has been around for quite some time, and it's only now over, I'd say, the past year or two that it's really starting to gain some traction. But actually launched back in 2013. There's over 9,000 successful applications now for Spanish Golden Visa, with over €3.5 billion raised from abroad into the economy. So a hugely successful program, and is a great example of why countries offer residency and citizenship programs by investment. Of course, it is a terrific source of income, which allows the country to grow and, of course, attracts further immigration. But yes, again, you do need to make sure you have a clean criminal record to be able to apply. Also, of course, there's no benefit, nor can you apply if you already have a European passport. But you can include children up to the age of 18, possibly 21, if in education. Can include, of course, your husband, your wife, and you can include parents above the age of 65 who are automatically assumed as dependent if they are older than 65. Now, they can potentially be included if they are younger than 65, but there's just a few extra hurdles to jump through to be able to prove dependency on that point as well. But you don't need to physically spend time in Spain to be on that path. There are, of course, different routes to the visa, which Shane will be touching on shortly. But yeah, loads to offer. And on that note, I'm going to actually bring in Shane now to tell us a little bit more about the detail behind the program. And I'll be back with everyone shortly. Shane, if I can hand over to you.
Thanks, Jason. All right, guys, good to be here. The golden visa is fairly straightforward. And the reason why it's so straightforward is because us as a team, we work alongside you for the next 10 years. We are the ones that will assist you to make sure that all of your obligations are met, and we will not leave you alone just to sort of wander out in the wilderness. Now, once you've selected an investment, and the investment is where it becomes sort of the most complicated. It's finding something that will work for you. But once we've selected that, it's fairly straightforward. We'll sign all the legal packages. So it's generally a package between Holborn, and then we'll look at the property itself and be able to assist you and guide you through any of those documents. From there, we'll open up a tax number within Portugal. Sorry, I'm lying to you. Jason was mentioning Portugal, so my brain's stuck there. But we'll open up a tax number in Spain. After that, it will give us the rights to open up a bank account. The bank account will be verified and validated, to which you would then transfer the property amount, so the 500,000 would then go into there, and we would sign the public deed. From there, it's fairly straightforward. We'll submit your application. We'll prepare all your documents. Each country has a different way of obtaining documents. So through experience, through involvement from my team, we'll be able to direct you and assist you to get those documents that we will need. Generally, those will be birth certificates, marriage certificates, and police clearances for the different countries. Once we've submitted all that, we'll be able to submit your application together with the property deed, and the visa will be issued. And the nice thing about that is issued from your local consulate, right? So you don't necessarily have to come to Spain to be able to get that. The visa will be issued, and you'll be able to move forward. Once you come across to to Spain, you would do all your biometrics, you would do all your testing. The resident application will be submitted, and your approval will then follow. Right? So fairly straightforward. I know there's a lot of lines, a lot of information. We will be able to map that out for you. Generally speaking, if it's a case that everything follows suit, we'll have that residency card for you within roughly about 7 to 8 months. Right? Can be delayed. So if there's a case of travel delays, we can do that. And in a lot of the cases, we can speed it up slightly. But for preference, work on about 7 months, of which we will assist you. Now, Spain has a lot of benefits from a golden visa standpoint. You are able to live there, work there. Majority of the time, it's up to the individual themselves. Do you want a residency, or do you want to go more towards citizenship? Right? If you wanted to go towards citizenship, that would then imply that you would have the passport. However, prior to that, you will have what they call free Schengen travel. So all 26 member states, you'll be able to travel visa free to and at least spend 190 days in a 180-day period. Right? Again, that includes you being able to establish a business, being able to come in and out of those countries, and obviously operate that business on your side. Nice thing about tax, and as Jason was saying, he is a financial advisor, so he will be able to set you up, he'll be able to assist you. But within the first 5 years, you can have a tax exemption. Expats at 24%. Right? Sure, Jason will be able to work out something better, but as we speak, that's where we stand. Once we have that, you now have the rights to access to healthcare. Right? You are talking the 7th best healthcare system in the world. And that then gives you the opportunity to take advantage of it. Now, benefits of once, as I said to you, that's the residency side of things. Once you now move that onto the citizenship side of things, you can obtain the benefits of an EU passport. Currently, there are 27 countries that are part of the EU. It is in the process of increasing. But because you are an EU citizen, you have the right to live, work, settle anywhere within those countries. That also includes retirement. Obviously, they're not going to pay for anything because you haven't contributed to social systems, but does allow you to live there, work there, and settle there. The nice thing about this specific passport is on top of the settlement within the EU, you can also travel visa-free to about 185 countries worldwide. Now, for some of us that have sort of restricted passports, that becomes a massive benefit. No more visas, no more waiting in queues, no more delaying getting your passport back. So from a business point of view, it opens up the globe to be able to operate. And the Spanish passport, as I said, it obtains a lot. But to be able to obtain that passport, you generally need to live within the country for at least 10 years. Right? Benefits to those that are part of any old colonies of Spain, you can reduce that 10 years down to 2 years. It does require you to physically live within the country, but at a 2 year, it's very, very good. As Jason explained, it's an amazing place to live, amazing opportunities. So that 2 years becomes a very, very quick point of reference. However, if you're not part of one of the external colonies, we can still obtain citizenship. It's just going to take a little bit longer. We do require you to move and live within Spain and at least spend a minimum of 6 months per year for the next 10 years within the country. Now, the requirements to obtain a citizenship are fairly straightforward. You would need to pass an A2 language test. That A2 language test is the most basic format of language tests within the EU. On average, clients are taking around about 6 months to be able to pass it. All right, it's generally split into two categories. One is a written and a multiple choice option. The other is a verbal. So generally listening to something, reading a paragraph, and having a verbal conversation with another student where the invigilator will be assessing your sort of quality of language. It is the third best passport in the world. All right, so not a lot better than that. Currently, as a point of reference, currently the best passport in the world happens to be a Japanese passport, and that's giving you about 191 countries visa-free travel. So not that much difference. And generally, those countries that you'll be able to travel to aren't necessarily ones, well, the difference between those aren't necessarily ones that you all want to travel to. All right. So one difference makes a world of makes no difference in the long run. All right. Now, how do we go about qualifying for the golden visa? Fairly straightforward. You've got 4 different routes. Majority, if not all, go for the real estate option. Now, currently, the real estate option in Spain is 500,000 euro. Any kind of real estate will qualify as long as we can prove that you have spent the required minimum for 500,000 euro. Alternatively, if it is a business route that you want to take, you would need to show that you have equity within a business of at least 1 million euro. Right? Possibilities, if you want to be able to move your existing business there, as long as you can prove that that business is within Spain, you can prove that you have a 1 million euro investment as far as equity wise goes, you can be able to utilize that. The bank deposit investment fund, again, is 1 million. Although an option, not a lot of clients utilize it because it is tying up funds unnecessarily. Right? Government bonds, again, 2 million invested into a government bond will assist you to be able to obtain it. And again, as you can imagine, not a lot of interest there. Now, today we're going
to add on that, Shane, if I can, just if you just come back a slide for a sec. Just talking about it from a just a general money point of view. I not that no detriment to Spain, but Spain is not somewhere you would necessarily want to hold such large sums of money. The regulation in Spain and the security for capital with the Spanish banking system is not quite as robust as perhaps what we're used to in the UK or over in the US. So for me, it was always a case of kind of holding general spending money in the local bank. But I think I'd be personally a little nervous of holding €1 million in a Spanish bank. If anything happens to that bank, there is very little protection in that event. I mean, for my clients that are living in Europe, we often talk about holding still in jurisdictions like Dublin or maybe over in Luxembourg, where you have a much higher level of security for bank savings. Yeah, that I would be reluctant to hold that kind of money in a bank account. I think government bonds, yeah, I kind of get that. Obviously, equity in a business, fine. Not so much a bank deposit. Obviously, with real estate, you've got a tangible asset. You can very easily see the value of that asset. You can touch and feel that. And I think all various reasons why real estate is the preferred option more often than not.
And that's why you're the financial advisor and I'm more the citizenship guy. Now, generally speaking, when you're looking at a real estate option, as we were saying, that's where we're going to focus on. You have two different routes. You have the residential property and then you have the commercial route. Now, it depends on your requirements. Are you wanting to move there? Are you wanting to pack up, buy a property, move there straight away? Or are you looking for more of an investment opportunity? Now, the difference between them is fairly substantial. If you're looking for a commercial property, majority of the time, you're looking at lower taxes, so lower transfer fees, lower tenant costs, and we are able to reduce your overhead. So all property will qualify at 500, but in the commercial space, we have opportunity to reduce that down to 350. Right? Other benefits is your rental yield. You are generally going to get a larger rental yield on a commercial property than you are on a residential. Most of your residential property is earning between a 2 to 3%, whereas on a commercial property, we can earn anything from 4 to 5 to even 6% in certain cases. Right? Other benefits are both of them, well, depending on how you're going to manage it. If it's a property that you want to manage yourself, residential gives you that right. I would always recommend from a commercial point of view that there's a service package. So you make sure someone else is managing it, collecting the rent, making sure the aircon is working, and so forth and so forth. Right? Primarily, if you are looking at the 350K route, we are looking at the commercial. And the reason and the way that we are able to process and do it for 350 is we are able to pay you a return up front. So in that situation, we would pay you a 3% front return, and we would give you all 10 years upfront. So instead of spending the required 500,000, it would require a capital of 350,000 from yourself, and that property would be managed ongoing. Right? Hopefully, I've explained it well enough, but either route we are able to assist with. Right?
I mean, just in some way, Shane's just that's crystal clear. So commercial, if we do it in the way that we propose, there is no waiting annually for the return. It's all paid up front, which comes to 150,000. So only 350,000 cash is required to get the golden visa, compared to the standard 500 if buying a non-commercial property. Is that correct?
Correct. That's 100% correct. What that also does is it actually it frees up that 150 of your own money, which you are able to then give to Jason so he can invest and make lots of money for you that way. Right. But there are a lot of reasons. But even if it is a residential, so if this is a property that you want to physically go and live in, we have agents on the ground that will be able to assist you. And if that's the process you want to go ahead, there is a slight fee of 10,000 euros for a finder's fee. But otherwise, pretty much the same. With the residential, unfortunately, we will need the full 500,000 investment. Now, that's 350,000. If we go a little bit deeper, as I explained to you, It is a 3% upfront. That 3% over a 10-year period is what to covering the 150,000. The types of tenants and the types of properties are going to generally be offices, restaurants, shop fronts, those type of things is where we are going to be doing the tenants, right? Those type of tenants are generally longer term type of tenants. Once they've completed their shop fronts, their shop fittings, those tenants tend to stay a lot longer. So the ambition is to not have high turnover in tenants. It is to have one tenant for at least the ongoing period. And because of that, we are able to comfortably pay you the 10 years up front. Right? Although, even if there was to lose the tenant, that doesn't count. Well, it doesn't matter from your side of things because the risk is covered by our partners. Right? Now, the other benefit of this is we do give you a buyback. So that 350,000 that you initially put forward, that is 100% guaranteed. So at no point in time are you ever going to lose your 350,000. In fact, after 10 years, we will pay you the 350,000 back, or you can decide to keep the property. Right? If you decide to keep the property, the ongoing rentals will be given straight directly to you, and there may be a management fee or something if required. Unless you want to manage it yourself, essentially that property is yours. Right? Now, as we know, things can happen. So that 10-year period, we have two options for you. If you decide that the 10 or something happens and you need to pull out of the agreement, there's two different options. One, we can sell the property. 50% of that capital gain will be taken by the partner, or we can guarantee that rental, buyback. On the right-hand side, you'll see that the guarantee is 50% in year 5, 40% in year 6, in year 7, 30% as it goes on. There's a lower discount applied. Right? So what that means is obviously we're making sure that your fund is secured. The risk is always going to be there from both elements. So that's why there is a cover from the developer. But essentially, after that 10-year period, we are able to make more of a profit on the sale. Right?
So it's a 10-year commitment declaration, isn't it? It's not something that you want to be getting, you don't want to be jumping in and then having to change your heart a few years in. You want to be thinking, this is the way I want to go.
Exactly. And that's kind of why it's looked after for you. It's a passive investment. It's all maintained, all monitored, all tracked, all looked after on your behalf. So it is something that will happen on the side. And the nice thing and the benefit of this is it doesn't require you to move there straight away. If you have something like this in the background, it gives you time to be able to come across to Spain, decide where you want to live, how your taxes are going to work, what size property you want to invest in, whether it's going to be in the towns or the cities or the coastline. It gives you that flexibility to be able to move forward. The thing about the golden visa is at any point in time during that 10-year period, you need to keep that property. Right? Other benefit of that golden visa is you don't have to, like with others, keep having to renew it all the time. Right? After the first 10 years, you only have to renew in year 13. So that again reduces some of the costs, but it also gives you a little bit more time to be able to monitor things. Some of these other ones that we deal with, every 2 years we have to renew that golden visa. So there's a cost implication and a time implication to it. Right? Now, this is just an example of one of our properties. It's a property in Madrid. The price is 600,000 euro. Square meter, about 130 squares. And the restaurant itself is who our tenant would be. All right. I'm not going to bipolar. I would assume that's how you pronounce it. Jason, with your amazing Spanish, I'm sure you're going to tell me I'm wrong.
I was going to have a go at that, but I thought, stay professional.
But this gives you an idea of what your initial money will be able to get you. Right. So this gives you an idea of Madrid, one of your main cities. Restaurants, as you can see, it's a high-end restaurant. And you can see from a return basis what type of rent they're going to be paying. Right. So going forward after your 10 years, this could be considered as an investment, and obviously the uplift will be in your pocket.
And just
So
to
that
ask a
gives you
question, then,
yeah.
can you just explain the difference between, obviously it's qualifying at 500,000, but the property's at 600,000. So is this something that there would be an upfront return paid? Or
Yeah,
can
so
you
again, this one we reduced. So the 500 is done on, I mean, the 350 is done on a 500,000 property. But this is
okay,
just to give you an indication of what you can get. So again,
okay,
3% of 600,000 over a 10-year period, you would obviously have the deductions there. So it's going to be a slightly more than 350.
yeah,
350 is
okay.
purely worked on the basis that it's a 500,000 property.
Mhm,
But it's the same idea, right? Now,
okay,
we've gone through a lot of information, and everybody's going to have a different way of wanting to discuss this. Obviously, everybody's different with their family sizes, everyone's different with their requirements. So, what I would suggest is to give Jason a call. He's made life easy by putting one of these, I don't know what you call it, Jason.
QR
You can
code,
scan
Shane.
it with
Right?
QR code. You
QR
can
code.
scan it with your code. Yeah. So you can scan it with your phone. As you know, Jason is there not just to show you pretty properties, but he can do the hard graft, Spanish tax guides, personalized cost and sort of breakdowns, and he can advise you on your specific journey on how to go about it from a financial point of view. I will be the one that will actually facilitate the process moving forward. So I will be the one that will run through opening bank accounts, tax numbers. I'll be doing all that for you. Jason, anything from your side?
And well, we'll jump into some questions, really, shall we? Which is the main focus, isn't it? But yeah, just
Yep.
before we do that, Zach, thanks for covering off those slides. And yeah, it is designed this evening to give a brief overview. There are many different ways of qualifying for the Golden Visa. Because we put together a portfolio of qualifying investment options that we can go through with you on a one-to-one basis. With myself and Shane will help find the best suited commercial property with a view to, like I say, to fit something within budget and qualify you for the program. The residential properties, Shane, I mean, I'll throw it out there. Tell me if you disagree, but for those that are looking to buy with a residential property, it's perhaps not something. I don't know. Would we get involved too much with residential property? Are we looking for kind of the top yielding commercial properties? What'd you say?
I mean, we are looking at the top yielding commercial properties, but we do have access to residential. The thing about residential is it is more of an emotional decision. So if you want a pink roof and a yellow door, that's something we can find, but it's more of a situation where I would advise a client to first stay in the area for a time being. To buy a property in an area that you don't know is always a little bit of a risk, right? This is a property that you're going to have to hold for the next 10 years. So my advice to you is secure it with an investment that's structured properly. Then once you've decided to move across to Spain, travel around, stay in different places, see what suits you best, and then set up that side of things separately. But to
Yeah.
answer your question, yeah, we can do both.
Great. And yeah, in summary, of course, between ourselves and the Holborn team, we facilitate again the whole process. We try and make it as easy and as quick as possible. We'll hold your hand right throughout those 10 years. I might be a little bolder, Shane, by the end of those 10 years, maybe a little bit more like this photo we can see on the screen. But nonetheless, we shall still be here and helping along the way. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful for everyone. So we'll take a few questions. I can see some have come in. We've also got some from before the webinar as well. Anything that we've missed, yeah, now the chance just to drop any questions in, and we shall. Yeah, we've got a bit of time now to go through it. We're making good time, Shane. Very good time. Right. So let's start at the top. Well, there, Spencer. Thanks for joining. I've previously purchased a property in Cornundella, Monstance. There's my Spanish showing itself off again. Purchase price was 80,000 euros and the property was not livable. I've spent 200,000 euros to build out the house and to be able to get our Cedula de habitabilidad. I know what that means, I just can't say it. Now, these invoices have been certified by engineers and can they be counted towards the 500,000? So in short, Shane, can we qualify for the visa with a total spend, including property price and renovations? Can we somehow use that towards the 500,000 minimum? Is that
So in
possible?
theory, yes, it comes down to when the property was purchased, though. So we would have to go back and look at when the property was purchased, and then we'd have to have a valuation done. So in
Okay.
short, yes, but there would be caveats to it. So that we would discuss more with our lawyers. Take that specific case to the lawyers, and they would be able to iron out exactly what would be required.
And also from Spencer Shane, I asked, is there a way to make it so that closing on the purchase of a new property is contingent on getting the golden visa approval? If my understanding is correct, Shane, we have done 1,000 golden visa applications now, and I've never had an application decline.
You are correct.
I am correct.
Yeah.
Very good. And also, we do, of course, pre-approve any developments that we recommend before, of course, suggesting them as a potential option, Spencer. So, nothing to fear there. But yeah, we can make sure you have that reassurance. Of course, we're not in the habit of, starting the process, buying a property, and then not getting the golden visa. That, of course, would not be very good for our Trustpilot reviews. So, we will make sure, of course, that is successful. Hi there, Chris. Do you need a Spanish bank account if you have an EU bank account? Won't you, that Shane? If you have a
so
do we need a
you
Spanish
do
bank?
so that you will need one. The reason why there's a Spanish bank and why it's required is we need to show the funds have come from outside of Spain. The funds need to have come from outside of Spain, and they need to settle within Spain themselves. And the reason why we utilize a bank account to do that is we would get a declaration from the bank showing where the funds have come from and that the funds have come from yourself.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. Nice and easy. Okay. So, 1 second. I've lost my questions. Right. So, I hope that's okay there, Chris. Abba Spencer, I've lived in Spain previously. I had a highly qualified professional work visa that expired in 2020. Would there be any issues with applying for the golden visa?
So in short, no. The golden visa, well, each visa in their own right is individual. So one does not affect the other one going forward.
Super. What's the difference in residency obtained for a golden visa versus a non-lucrative visa?
So your only difference there is it can lead to, so fundamentally they give you the same rights, to work, live at any point in time within Spain. The difference is the golden visa can be transferred or can merge into a citizenship, where your lucrative visa can't.
Okay. For the real estate investment, can it be commercial instead of residential? Yep, so we've covered that one off. Of course, some key differences between the two. Main one being commercial can be done with 350 rather than 500 due to the returns over the next 10 years being paid upfront and some other variables as well, Spence. But yes, commercial certainly can be done. If you buy a residential property and you sell the property, do you lose the ability to renew the golden visa?
So the answer is no, as long as during any point in time there's no lapse time period where you don't hold the property. So if you were to sell a property, you would have to buy a property at the same time, and there can't be a lapse in ownership.
Super, thank you. Hi there, Dina. Dina has asked, can you explain the 5-year tax exemption for expat, please?
I'm going to leave that tax structure to you. Yeah.
I'm going to say, Dina, that I'm not going to go through the tax on a live webinar, unfortunately, for various compliance reasons, but I will be very happy to take you through everything that you need to know on the tax front. But yeah, scan the code on the front or drop me an email with any particular questions that you have. And yeah, once I've assessed your personal circumstances and I understand who I'm speaking to, I'll happily advise on tax exemptions that are available to you. Hi there, Michael. How is the cash flow treated in the US? So I think referring to of course, the rental income that's paid, Shane, that 10-year rental income. How is that treated as far as taxation in the US?
It is considered as an income, so it would be treated as such. There is a double taxation agreement between Spain and the US. So again, as you said, when it comes to tax, we would look at the individual situation there.
Yeah, and then in short, Michael, as Shane says, you will not be double taxed, but it will be a taxable income. So yes, it will be, for example, if it's 150,000, there will be a tax to pay on that. Again, for any further detail, let's speak on a one-to-one basis, and we'll run through that together. What rates do Spanish banks pay on $1 million deposits? Not very much, Michael, in all honesty. I suppose a couple of comments on that. First of all, don't leave $1 million or euros in a Spanish bank account. As I mentioned earlier, the Spanish security that you have with the Spanish banking system is not, and the regulation is not quite as robust as you'll be used to in the US or we're used to in the UK. So you want to try to stay, in my humble opinion, less than 100,000 in Spanish banks because you have a level of protection there. Anything else, you want to be looking to keep outside of Spain. As a European resident, jurisdictions like Dublin and Luxembourg offer a very high level of security and also incentives as well. That would be my guidance as to what to do with the €1 million, whether it would be a bank deposit or other savings options that, again, happy to talk you through on a separate occasion. But to answer the question, Spanish bank will, should you wish to decide to keep lots of money there, pay in the kind of 2%-ish mark, 2 to 3% on a good day, should you so wish. Okay. Hi there, Dean. I currently own a property in Spain, purchased last year, and intend to purchase another one soon. It take me over the €500,000 to apply for the golden visa. I'm aware that I have to maintain the investment, but could sell one of the properties and buy one again for at least the same amount, therefore maintaining the investment. Although there may be a small gap due to the property chain. Or would I have to keep the same two properties? So can we swap a property, Shane? Have you got two properties at 250 each and sold one to buy another one?
Can. We can go from 1 to 3 to 1 back again, but as long as there's a period of time where you're not missing. Now, when you're talking about that chain, as long as what we're doing is when we are selling the one and we're buying the other, as long as there's not more than probably about a week or so, right? We can't be going into months or years without a property. As soon as you've got that sort of timeline over a month, it starts to raise questions. But
yeah, so we're looking for simultaneous transactions.
Simultaneous, yeah, correct.
Super. Hope that's okay, Dean. Okay, hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous. I currently have enough income to qualify for the golden visa in Spain. However, I unexpectedly lost my employment. So on that note, the golden visa is not something that is employment dependent. I think you may be thinking of a work visa on that note. A few further points are around being made redundant, looking for new work. Again, the golden visa is not employment related. It is purely derived from the investment into a qualifying investment option. So on that front, not applicable on this particular webinar. Of course, any questions around other areas, please do feel free to get in touch. You're very welcome, Chris. But I don't think you can work with a non-lucrative visa. The non-lucrative visa is something we can guide you in the right direction of, Chris. It's, again, our main focus is to make sure you have investment advice and you have access to high-yielding investments. Again, the non-lucrative visa is not investment related. Not something you'd necessarily need us for, but of course, being in Spain for quite some time, I'm happy to recommend you to some good trusted lawyers, and of course, someone to help you with that application, no problem. Hi there, John. I purchased a property in 1999, which cost 84 million. Pesos, pesetas, that was it. I forgot what the currency was then before euros. There it is, pesetas, 84 million pesetas, and is now worth 800,000 euros. Is this sufficient for applying for the golden visa, Shane? Property purchase in
1999 may be a
1999.
bit too long. It may be a bit too long ago. But in any case, as I say, every situation is different, and we'd be able to set up a time where we would bring in the lawyers, and they would be able to assist you a little bit further than that.
Thank you very much. I read that you can apply for the golden visa from Spain on a tourist visa, and that if you do so, they grant you 2 years initial period versus 1 year. Is that correct?
So the 1 year, I can't. I have to be honest with you. The tourist visa part, I wouldn't. It's not something we've ever dealt with. But the 1 year, yes, you are correct. But we would have to investigate a little bit more on the 2 years with the tourist visa. I can't see why, but I don't want to give you the wrong information. I'd rather be upfront and find that out for you.
Yeah, that's okay, Spencer. Again, drop us an email. Let's book a meeting. Me and Shane, happy to jump on a call with you to go through your questions. Hi there, John. I want a golden visa solely so that I can spend more than 90 days in any 180-day period at my property in Spain. Once a golden visa has been obtained, do you have to pay tax in Spain rather than the UK? I'll take that one, Shane.
Yeah, there's two questions there.
So in short, John, the visa itself does not change your tax. Okay, you can have a visa in 5 different countries and loads of different passports as long as it's not an American one. Most of the case, your tax does not change until you physically spend over 6 months of the year. So unless you spent over 180 days, John, in Spain, you would not become tax resident. And that remains the same, even if you had a golden visa or a silver visa or a bronze visa or anything else for that matter. Your tax residency does not change until you choose to put your person in Spain over 180 days. Of course, the golden visa allows you to spend 180 days, but it will only be when you decide to spend 180 days that your tax residency will change. Hope that's nice and clear. Yeah, any other questions on that, please ask, John. Do taxes owed on closed count on closed? Do taxes owed on closed count towards
For your
500,000
transfer
minimum?
fees and things like that. So in short, no. The purchase price needs to be 500, excluding any associated costs.
Simple as that. Simple as that. And would it be right to think, Shane, that the rent, the rental income, 150,000 that's paid up front, that ultimately would be covering those costs? That could be used
Well,
towards those
no,
costs.
it would cover the 500, so that would just bring you up to 500. There will be associated transfer fees and things like that attached.
Yep. Okay. Super. Is there a minimum stay requirement during the 10 years?
So if you're going to keep it as a visa option, then no, there's no requirement. But if you wanted to convert it to a citizenship office, yes, you would need to at least spend 6 months or 184 days each year within the country. And that would
Super.
obviously trigger your tax base to be able to move over.
Okay, so yeah, so the residency visa itself allows you to live full time in Spain, but you don't have to be here for any minimum amount. But if you do want to apply for the passport after the 10 years, then yes, there is a minimum stay during that time. And what is the minimum stay, Shane?
It's the 184 days. So we need to at least spend 6 months of the year within the country.
Thank you much. And last live question, I'll just have a look at some that came in before the webinar. I understand there are income requirements to apply for the golden visa. Are there regular checks on income to renew the visa? Is there an income requirement, Shane, for the golden visa?
There is an income, not a requirement, but a suggestion. But yeah, it's not checked. It's not part of the process.
Super. Okay, right. Thank you everybody for those questions. Let's make sure we've covered everything in total. Let's see what we have before. She'll finish up in a few minutes. Anyone has any last minute questions, please do drop them in the box. We'll be finishing up in a few minutes' time. How long does the process take, Shane, to obtain the visa from start to finish?
So from start to finish, you're looking around about 7 months. We can do it slightly quicker, but I would give you 7 to 8 months to obtain it, which is fairly good within the Europe. Currently, with someone like Portugal, a little bit longer than that, but 7 to 8 months, with the aim to do it slightly quicker.
Excellent. Randy's asked around the costs for the golden visa over the term of the investment. And for that one, Randy, I would say the best thing to do, we can actually give you a full breakdown of all the costs over the next 10 years. We just need to know a few key parts around the number of family members, first of all, that you'd like to include on the visa, and of course, which type of investment, or even better, what property you'd like to qualify with. And then if we speak on a face-to-face basis, or just say through Zoom, we can go through the costs on the screen and give you a full breakdown of exactly what to expect specific to your circumstances at that time. I'm of direct Spanish descent and have family in the country still. Are there any additional incentives or workarounds? That's from Gabriella. A Spanish family thing? Is there any, assuming Gabriela's not Spanish already?
Yeah, we would need to sort of know a little bit more about sort of who those relatives are, sort of where were they born. So again, let us have a one-on-one chat, depending on who they are in relation to yourself, where they were born, how long ago they were born, and your ages. We can have a look at if there's some sort of pipeline as to if there's a different way of you getting a citizenship.
That's okay, Gabriella. The 500,000 that's needed, Shane, can it be through a mortgage?
Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, that 500,000 has to be a cash purchase, which is the cash purchase which allows you to obtain the residency. The property itself has to be unencumbered, so it can't have any debt associated with it.
From Adrienne, once we invest 500,000 euros in a property, how long do we have to begin the golden visa process?
I mean that forms part of the 7 months, but essentially we can start at any point in time. Once you've purchased your property, prior to that, we would have already opened up the bank accounts, your tax numbers. So it's a case of sort of how long you want to be able to take. But we can adjust our timelines depending on your individual situation. But generally speaking, within the first 7 months, we'll have everything done.
Super. Question from Caroline's asking, how do we prove that we are living in Spain for at least 6 months of the year? Well, in short, Caroline, as you would expect, really, things like if you're renting, tenancy agreement, if you purchase a property, ownership of the property, you can go as far as looking at bank statements where you're physically using your card. Again, if you want to prove that you live in Spain,
Even flight
I can't
stubs.
say. Yeah, flight stubs. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty easy these days to kind of prove where you live. Yeah, so yeah, various options you have there. Okay, right. I think some of these others we've already covered. Let me make sure there's none I've missed. Okay. Yeah, how are married couples handled? So yeah, as we mentioned before, either James, we can do. You can include a partner as part of the application, both be on the same application, both husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife. Sean, do new builds qualify? And if so, does it need a valuation, or is it based on the build cost?
So yeah, if you're going to be buying a piece of land, we would need that land to be valued at 500,000. If you are purchasing a property that is a new build, there would be a purchase price, unless what you're talking about is you have a piece of land and you will be building. I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. From the question comes anything. Chris, is there a maximum amount of time you can renew the visa?
Yeah, so generally after 13 years, in year 13, you would need to renew it again.
13 years. 13 years, who knows, Chris? You might even fancy heading somewhere else after 13 years, or if not, we can get a few more years for you in Spain. No problem. But I hope that was helpful, everyone. Just coming up to 7 o'clock there, so we'll finish up. There will be a copy of this evening's webinar available on request, so please do get in touch with any questions. If you would like to request, of course, a consultation, there's no fees at all to go through the details that you need to work out if the Spanish Golden Visa is something that you wish to pursue. Yeah, hope that was helpful. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll keep you up to date with future webinars. There is a few coming up this week around, of course, we have Portugal Golden Visa. We have the EB5 USA visa later this week as well. But yeah, thanks for joining. Thank you, Shane. Always a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much for having me.